Hi everybody, today we are with Karen Bromley. I've known Karen for a year and a half, I think now, and we've had a very deep connection right from the start. She's just a lovely soul with a lot to offer, and I'm just delighted to be able to deliver her message here with you today. So Karen, if you can just share a little bit about you, first of all, so that they can connect with you and who you are, and then we will go from there.
Okay. Well, I'm a hypnotherapist, inner child therapist and wellness coach. I also do Reiki healing, so I work very much energetically as well as with the mind and body. My background is mental health social work and working in stroke rehabilitation. And that's where my fascination of the mind started, as well as helping myself on my own recovery to fantastic health. So I'm in the UK, in the east of England, and in a lovely county called Norfolk. It's gorgeous. So, yes, I love being here, and wonderful to connect with you guys and everybody else around the world.
Lovely, Karen. So one thing that I do know about you as well is you don't all just connect with people physically, but you have a very good visual capacity as well, because we've done deep presence work together.
Yes.
And you were very visual in what you saw. So I know that you're capable of seeing, and on all levels, what's going on with people and where they are, which is wonderful. But what led you to working with the mind-body connection specifically?
Well, it started off, I had ME, which is now sort of called chronic fatigue syndrome, for 11 years. So I had been trying all sorts of different natural therapies to heal myself. And what I realized was that all the pain and the symptoms, which were horrendous, there's quite a lot of different symptoms, were manifesting more and more in my body. And when I was looking, because each morning I would scan myself, and of course, if I was looking for pain and symptoms, my mind would create it. And so my sort of quest for my own transformation led me to a hypnotherapist. And I also did a mindfulness course, and I was realizing that rather than trying to keep away from the symptoms and the pain, that actually to sit with it with love and compassion, and to visualize healing around it and colors and using different techniques, that actually this was making such a difference to let go of the pain and the symptoms, and to also realize that this was my issues in my tissues, that I'd been holding on to all this unexpressed emotion all these years, lots of hurt and loss and all sorts of different things. It was all being held in my body. So once I realized what it was and how to clear it using hypnotherapy and energy techniques and visualizations, that the pain was starting to disappear until it went completely. So it was just mind-blowing. So I was like, I want to tell everybody about this.
Yeah, I mean, you've given a really good point there. How powerful the mind is, and the brain itself, in healing the body when you focus it correctly and reprogram it, in effect, to say actually you don't feel pain and things like that. And so what for you caused the disconnection? What causes that disconnection for you?
That whole thing called stress that causes the majority of things in us human beings. Working in the NHS, the National Health Service in the UK, for 11 years, because it started when I was a mental health social worker, and we're always short-staffed and working with very unwell people. Me not realising that I was a highly sensitive person, that I was actually absorbing so much of this stuff, and it just got worse and worse really from there. And the other thing was, I was in an unhappy marriage where I wasn't accepted for who I was in the past, who I was in the present, and who I wanted to be in the future. And varying other things going on within the marriage, I started to close myself down, to contract energetically, you know, as a being, as who I was, because it was easier to just keep the peace, keep my head down, and with work, just giving way too much of myself, as many people do, especially in the health services, you know, giving themselves, it's a vocation, it's not a job, it's where you just want to give to people all the time. And I gave way too much of myself on all levels, and then couldn't get out of bed. My body said, right, that's it. We're going to make you stop completely.
Yeah, it's stop and reconfiguration time.
Yes. Yeah. So I hit rock bottom mentally and physically, and I was literally at the point where I was praying in the middle of the night. It was just like the Julia Roberts film Eat, Pray, Love, and I've got the hair.
Yeah. I love that. I've got that.
Have you seen the film?
I have, yes.
Yeah. And she was in the middle of the night in the bathroom. I wasn't in the bathroom, I was in the spare room, but I was just laying sort of in prayer position on the floor with my head down, praying for my life to end, because I couldn't do it anymore. And my life did change completely, but on a very different, unexpected level to what I was kind of feeling at the time. And I was, from asking, I was guided to this hypnotherapist, and amazingly she has the same initial as me and surname, so I know that, you know, the universe brought her to me to support me. So yes, it was a very difficult time.
What and very, very good point that you made there is the power of prayer, the power of being heartfelt in what you ask for, and you in that moment were very sincere in your heart space of asking for help, for change, and the way is just paved for you, really. So for you call yourself the mind-body connector, which I love. So how do you reconnect the mind and the body in how you work?
Well, what I do is I imagine ourselves as a psychological vase where I find out from people what is in their vase, the unexpressed emotions, if there's been any grief, any blame, shame, unforgiveness they're carrying, anger, guilt, you know, there's lots and lots of different things that can be there. And so when I draw a vase with somebody, and then they can sort of put in there what they feel they're carrying, and understand that it's spilling over like a vase full of water that's had flowers in that have died and festered, and it's causing mental or physical illness or both. So once we identify those things that they're, you know, inside there and ready to let go of, and that includes beliefs that they have about themselves, you know, the most common one, I'm not good enough. Many people have that. I used to have that. Mine's now absolutely fabulous and amazing. So I've gone from one extreme to the other, which is awesome. So I help them identify the beliefs about themselves and the world around them, and using different techniques, under hypnosis, using the inner child therapy, you know, the energetic stuff, the visualizations. I will use whatever tool is appropriate for them that they would, like to experience, to help clear those feelings. For some people to actually go into their body under hypnosis, like they're journeying through their muscles and glands, and wherever they're feeling heaviness, or it might be a feeling or a shape or whatever that is, you know, I take them to that and then guide and support them to let that go. Or I will actually put them under hypnosis but get them to open their eyes, and then I remove that. Because the subconscious mind is so powerful, because it makes up 95 to 98% of the mind, and it doesn't understand the difference between real or imagined. Once that's happening, it believes it's really happened, or whether they need to speak to people that might have passed over, or it's inappropriate for them to speak to people. So that is a really powerful technique. So the mind again believes that they've said whatever they needed to say, or to get angry with someone, or to forgive someone, or forgive them younger selves. Doesn't matter. The mind always believes that it's been done, and then it releases. So there's so many different techniques that I can use, but each time it's letting go of that stuff in their psychological vase. It's feeling that relief and release, and then we put the new stuff in that they want. I can use classic hypnotherapy where they have a recording. It's like a journey, and I know you do this with who you support. You know, you go wherever you're meant to go, and I love it because you never know what's going to happen. And people afterwards, they've always got this look on their face like, wow, what was that? And they're a bit stunned for a little while, and then they're like, that was quick. And that's what our planet needs, isn't it? This quick change, powerful work.
Yeah.
So that we can move forward and live the true, abundant, authentic life that we're all meant to be living.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about now the restoration of humanity, and doing it authentically from that heart space, which is what we're doing here. And you so beautifully provide. There's a number of key things that you mentioned, little pearls and gems. And one of those is that it really is just a choice. The minute you make a choice to change, it happens like that. Okay, if it's more to do with kind of brain function, the correctness can be there, but it takes a while for it to work through and to transform in the body itself, in the movement. But once you make the choice, it is actually present, and you just need to allow for it and surrender everything that's stopping it from being for you. And it's great that you facilitate part of that process.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a privilege to help people, support people through that process. And some people need the deeper work with the sort of a trauma and abuse side of things, where I use a lot of the inner child therapy, dipping in and out of using hypnosis. And it doesn't re-traumatize people. I think that's such a key thing, isn't it? Because some therapies, you know, you're just talking and it brings it to the forefront of your mind, and then you're stuck with it. You might get an understanding of it, but they're still stuck. They, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, oh, well, I know why now. And then they, you know, they think, but it's about that change. It's about moving forward and letting all that go. So it's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, the mind body connector, it just says what it does on the tin, really. I love it because it just came to me so that people would know what I'm doing. Because when you've got a block, a belief that's holding you back, or whatever that is, you know, a lot of people are just sort of stuck in their head, in their minds, and they're not connected to their bodies at all. And it's, as you know, so vital that we are, and checking in with ourselves every day. How are we feeling? What needs to happen? What do we need to do?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, there's been, going on to another point that you mentioned about trauma and stress being a key to disconnection. It is, because it flings you out of your body. You're basically hovering about up here, and you can't ground anything effectively in that space. And quite often, the reason why things aren't happening as you desire them to in your life, it is because there's still trauma in your body, and you're still up there and can't bring it to ground because of that. And you help people with that, don't you? You bring, as you've said, you bring the trauma into balance and realign people through what you do.
And you can see why it would happen, because it's too much, you know, a trauma or an abuse situation is too much, so the mind can't cope with it. So, and your energy can't cope with it, so it does the best it can. And that's how I felt. I felt so disconnected, and I couldn't understand why. I couldn't work it out at first. You know, what was going on, why everything was sort of out of alignment, as you know, as you say, the alignment, when all the tests over 11 years from the health services kept saying there's nothing wrong, you know. And that's awful when, you know, you don't want to hear bad news, but at least if you're given some sort of indication. But that's where I was just said, no, I'm just going to go down the natural route. I refused all antidepressants and hefty painkillers because I'm sensitive, all the side effects, because of the power of the mind-altering drugs and the chemicals in it. There was no way I was going to put myself through that. So I was really proud to just do it naturally. And I felt like I rebooted myself, as well as connecting myself, grounding myself, just bringing everything where it should be. And I was imagining that connection going up through my energy centers, my chakras. I still do it every morning. I link in, I ground down, and I've added in what you taught me a year ago or whatever it was. And I absolutely love doing that in my morning meditation, as I call it, my meditation in bed.
Yeah.
And the first thing before I even open my eyes, doing all that and just checking in with myself, bringing the energy up and down from the earth star to the soul, sun star, and checking what's going on. How's my body? What do I need to do?
Yeah, and it's a wonderful thing to actually be in touch with you and where you're at as well, isn't it? You know, it's something that the alignment is so crucial to everything, because the core of us is where everything comes from, and if you're not aligned in one place, you're not aligned with your core. The oneness, the source, whatever you call it, God. It's all about God at the end of the day. And, one of the things that you talked about as well is absorption. Now, we can, if we're not diligent with our energy, take things on from other people.
Yeah.
So it's about being, or just have energetic transference that can cause things to go on in our body unless we are diligent enough to be aware of what is not ours, and give it back if you like. And it's an important thing to learn to be diligent with your energy field as well, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. That's the last thing I do, is put my bubble around me with different colours in it and strengthen it. Sometimes if I'm going to see certain people that I know my energy can, be drained by them, so I always have my bubble around and then put it on again, strengthen it before I go to bed, because I tend to go disappearing off at night, still helping people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so important, and that's again just in my my ritual, really. Some people can just know it's happening, so they don't need to imagine anything. They just know that they're protected. It all works the same, really, because the mind just is like a sat nav in a car. If you put in what you believe, what you want, where you want to go, it will take you there. And that's what I say to the people I support. If you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you're getting, basically. And that's what was happening to me year after year after year. And I remember saying, I'll leave my marriage when I'm better, and that just kind of kept going on. And then the light bulb went off. I have to leave my life here to get better. And it did really, really quickly once I'd made, as you said, about that choice. So that is such a big message that I love to give people. It's like, I know it's scary. It was like standing on top of a cliff for me. I felt like I had a blindfold on, like my hands were tied behind my back, and I didn't know what was ahead of me. I was just paralyzed with fear. But I just leapt, and I was caught by life instantly, and everything just started to flow. And it's that letting go, isn't it? It's that just saying, okay, I need help, please help, making that choice, taking that first step. But typical of me, I just thought I'd fully leap off the top of the cliff. But yeah, that's the best thing I ever did, because from that moment it all just fell into place.
The leap of faith is the best thing anybody can ever do, because fear is one of those emotions to clean up, if you like. It's one of the darker elements that's here to stop us from our own growth. And it, ultimately it's fear of death. But if you take that leap of faith, you're caught by life. I say caught by God, because you end up nestling in his hands, and he's your safety, your protector. And where you have that faith, you're always in the safety of that. You'll never be free of challenge, because there's always things around you that are going to kind of try and take stuff away from you. But it's having the courage of heart to take that leap of faith. So yeah, well done you for doing that. And and you support that for other people as well, don't you, and in what you do. Yeah.
And that, they say that's really powerful, to have me beside them, knowing as well that I've been through, you know, something so horrendous, and see where I am at now, it gives them that inspiration, empowers them that they can do that. And you saying about being caught by the hands of God, it was like a sort of angelic cloud that I was caught by.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And that was within 3 days. It all happened so quickly. Yeah, because once you get to that point, it's like, okay, I'm ready. Because you have to ask, don't you? You have to put that out there to say, excuse me, this is it, I'm ready.
Very, very important point there, Karen. Yes, you do have to ask everybody. It doesn't happen unless you ask. People cannot help you unless you ask, and that goes for God and cosmic team or anybody. Nobody can help you unless you ask them. So make the choice for wellness and ask for the assistance from the heart space. Yeah.
Then it all comes, woof.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've known people that have been lying in hospital bed with cancer, told they're terminally ill and everything else. And they've literally prayed from the heart for life, and the heat and, you know, the energy rather, and the feeling of the woof that they've felt, and now they're perfectly well. And as usual, science is further on than people think, but doctors are quite often baffled by these miraculous happenings. But it is basically comes from what you've been talking about, the choice and the deep asking. Yeah. And I love the fact that you support people to overcome all sorts of things. But ME specifically can be really debilitating, can't it? It can really slow you down, so you really can't do very much at all. It really makes you kind of take stock, because you can't really do anything else with it. Where do you focus on anything and anyone, or is it people with illnesses, or how do you focus yourself with what you do?
Well, it can be anything that blocks people, really. So it might be a fear, it might be that bad that it's a phobia. You know, it can be, there's a lot of people come see me with anxiety and depression. There's more and more anxiety than ever in my career. It's so sad, especially for the youngsters coming through. They just have no self-esteem. It's so low. So any blocks at all. And luckily now people understand hypnotherapy. They don't understand inner child therapy, which is fine. They just want to know what's going to happen. They don't necessarily need to know, all the different diplomas and everything that I've done in the courses. They just want to know what's happened. But under the heading of the hypnotherapy, more and more people luckily are open to that and understanding of that. So I can get, sort of weight loss and stop smoking and all sorts of different people coming through. But then I'm also attracting people because I do a law of attraction sort of course. So that covers everything, all the blocks, and working with people's beliefs so that they can manifest, the abundant true life that they're meant to be living. And I do attract people that are spiritual as well. So there's a lovely mix of people coming through. But in my face-to-face work, I'm under the name of the sort of hypnotherapist, but with the mind-body connector, it can include anybody with all sorts of issues, which is brilliant because there are all that array of issues out there that are blocking people from having that connection.
Yeah, it's a good point that you made as well about the level of anxiety that's out there in the world right now, because people are disconnected from the core of who they are. And you know, it is, to be realigned is a space of bliss. It is a space of nothingness, but it's also a space of everything. And once you're aligned with that space, everything manifests much more quickly in your life. So as Karen has made clear as well. And so being supported in that realignment and reconnection to you and all that you are is very important. And Karen's such a wonderful supporter of that as well. Is there anything else that that's pressing on your heart, Karen, that you want to share with everyone about you and what you do?
I think it's just about, we touched on about fear. It's understanding that it's a thing, it's an energy, but it's not going to stop us if we don't want it to. And it's just about really to say, you know, find whoever resonates with you to support you to get through whatever that fear is, whatever that blockage is, because you don't have to live a life full of fear or to be disconnected. And I say to people, if I can do it, you can do it, because I was in such a dark place. And at the time, I never imagined I could be living the life I am now. But because I started to imagine the life I wanted, rather than just going, oh, I feel so ill, I want to die, and found the support that worked for me, that it can shift. So yeah, if I can do it, you can do it. So go for it.
Oh, what an awesome message. Yeah. Go for it.
Fear is just a thing. It's just a thing. It's a horrible thing. You can get rid of that.
Yeah, get aligned with who you are, because I know so many people are fulfilling other people's views of them, rather than being themselves. That's another thing you'll probably be dealing with too. They're people that are just you know, following the kind of on track with what they want, but they're doing it in a way that's kind of enclosed and trapped in an entrapped space, like you were in your mental health work or whatever. You were employed, you had more than an excess of work put on you and everything else, and it took you off your axis, if you like. It flung you out. So again, it's about, if you are sort of in a line with your journey, in a sense, it's about reconnecting with your core purpose, and flowing with that in a way that's free and gives you the space to be you, but also do what you love to do and help other people in the way that sings to you. And that's where Karen helps you to connect with that, don't you?
Absolutely. And that's a good point, is just do whatever you are passionate about or love or even just like. so many people say, I hate what I'm doing, but I don't know what I want to do. So I support them to find out what that thing is. And it's absolutely brilliant, because someone might come in and they're a teacher and they don't know what to do, and then they'll end up doing something completely different, but because they're following what they're enjoying doing and they end up being their passion, everything again gets aligned, and doing what they're meant to be doing. I always just say, do what you enjoy doing. That's as easy as it is to start. And the other thing, you made a good point, was about being yourself for you. And I was really good at being an emotional chameleon. I used to be in friendships and relationships and be whatever they wanted me to be. And I was really good at it. And, they loved that about me. But then I'd go, oh, I know my needs haven't been met. And I don't know who I am. What are my needs? But I just knew it felt completely wrong. And I just kept leaving those friendships or relationships because my needs weren't being met, but I didn't know what they were. And it's just absolutely amazing now just to radiate out my true self, my energy, who I am. And then I started attracting amazing people. And yes, we have flown off around the planet and the universe together, haven't we?
Yes, through presence. Yeah. But
you end up meeting the most incredible people, sometimes in the most unlikely places. So it's good to always keep your antennae out.
Yeah, that's true. And even if an experience is bad, it gives you good at the end of it, because you grow from it. Yes. Where there is the deepest darkness, there's also the connection with the purest light. So when you feel everything's going that way, actually, when you get to a certain point, it goes woof in the other direction. And that's what's brought us here together today. So thank you very much, Karen, for being with us today. It's been
very welcome
talking to you, as always. And if you want to connect with Karen, you can connect with her directly through the links that are on our website, itsatoughworldouthere.com, and Karen will make the world brighter for you and begin your journey there. Yeah. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. See you soon.